Here are 10 advanced words that you can use for the workplace, for business English communication, for professional conversations that you're probably already using a version of. These 10 advanced words can replace words you are currently using to just enhance your English level a little, make you sound more professional, more advanced in the workplace. Our first one is compile. Compile. Now, compile can be used to almost replace make or collect. So, for example, can you compile the data into an easy-to-read report for Monday's meeting? Now, I could say, can you collect the data? Can you put the data? Can you make the data easy to read? But instead I say compile because it is a mixture of to make something, to collect something, to consolidate. That's another good word. All of the information, all of the data you have into one space, one easy to read space. Can you compile a report for our meeting on Friday with the client? All of the information we gathered from the research and development stage is really interesting. Could you compile it into a presentation and present it to the board members on Monday? When you want to collect, make something easier to read, you can use compile. Our second word today is, well, actually, this isn't a word, this is a phrase, hooked up. Hooked up. Now, if you ask if something is hooked up or has been hooked up correctly, this is related to connecting something to something else, technology. So, for example, if your computer is not working properly or you're trying to print something, but it won't print, and somebody says to you, is it hooked up correctly? Have you hooked it up in the right way? This just means connected it. Has it all been connected in the places it's supposed to be? Are the right wires connected to the right sockets, plugs, ports? There is a second meaning for this which American English speakers use in their teen years, but the way I want you to remember this is when you're asking if a piece of technology is connected correctly. Now, before we move on to our third word, which actually I have 3 versions of for you, I just want to introduce myself a little for anyone that might be new here. My name is Catherine. I'm a business English teacher and I work with intermediate to advanced level students. I create videos on business English, how to improve your IELTS answers, how to improve your emails, interview practice. So if you are using English in the workplace or want to use English in the workplace, please do subscribe and like this video and check out all of the other videos that I have available. So our third word, as I said, I have 3 versions of this word because they are very, very similar in meaning. Parameters, specification, and criteria. Now, all of these words refer to how something is supposed to be. So if I give you a brief, if I give you an idea, I need you to design this. I need to give you some sort of rules or way of knowing exactly what it is that I want. Let's take a really simple example. I want you to make me a birthday cake. If I just say, make a birthday cake, you don't know what colors, flavors, styles I want or am expecting. So if you then create a cake and I'm not happy with it, I can't complain because I've given you no parameters, criteria, or specification to work from. Similarly, in the office, in a workplace, whenever you do something for a client, for a boss, for a colleague, you're expected to have an understanding before you go into this project between you. So your client knows what they want, you know what to expect and what to provide, so that when you finish your hours of work on this thing for your client, they are not disappointed and you have not wasted your time. But what's the difference then between parameters, criteria, and specification? A specification is a detailed description of the design, the materials, what you want, what you expect, what the purpose is, the price, the budget. It's a descriptive description to explain exactly what it is that you want or need. A criteria is similar. It's a description of what you want or need, but it is also the standard of which something is judged or decided. So for example, that cake that I've asked you to make, my specifications are that it's pink and has flowers on it and is chocolate. But the criteria is a more specific need. I need it to do something, and that is feed 30 people. So you could create me a fantastic cake that meets all my specifications, but it only feeds 5 people. It has then not met my criteria. A more business-like example. The project's specification outlined the necessary features and functionalities, while the criteria focused on the standards and benchmarks that the final product needed to meet. So the specifications are what it needs to be able to do, what we want it to look like, what we expect from the designer, for example. Whereas the criteria is more specific. It needs to meet this benchmark. It needs to have this target. It's aimed at children, so it needs to be attractive to children. These are very similar, and they are often used interchangeably. So you might see criteria for product and actually there's specifications in there, or specification of product and there's criteria in there. It doesn't matter if you mix these two up because they have a very, very similar meaning and the understanding is exactly the same. But just for the sake of this video and your understanding of the words, specification is what you need something to do and criteria is what you need it to achieve. A new style of trainer, for example. My specifications are that it comes in all sizes, that it is green and white, that it fits the spring trends, and that I can make it quickly and sell it as fast as possible. But my criteria would be that it comes in sizes 6 to 14, it's a man and a woman's shoe, and it's used for daily walking, for example. So criteria is a bit more specified than specification. Parameters then, what does parameters mean? Well, typically parameters are a quantifiable amount. Quantifiable amount just means a number. There is a number related to this. So often you see this with products that are digital products, websites, coding, creating new platforms, new applications. The parameters are a number, so it has to be from this to this. Outside of this, we cannot do. And if we change these parameters, it changes our product. So, an example using all 3 of the words. The project's specifications detailed the required features. The criteria established the standards for success, and the parameters defined the limits within which the development had to occur. So, for example, your parameter might be a time frame. It has to be created within 2 to 3 weeks. A budget. The budget is 10,000. It cannot go over this. Some other examples for the word parameter to help you understand. The researchers must keep within the parameters of the experiment. So if they go outside of these parameters, these limits, these numbers, the experiment won't count anymore. The company has been asked to explain the performance parameters of their scheme. So here, Our performance parameters could be how much money we made, how quickly it happened, how many people joined the team, how many new leads we got, how many new customers we got. A parameter is something we can quantify, we can turn into a number. So me wanting a pink chocolate cake is not a parameter. But me needing the cake to feed 30 people could be, because that is a number that we can work with. However, parameters is a very formal, professional, advanced word, so you would only use it in a business setting, and buying a cake is not typically a business setting. But I think it's a good example for you to be able to understand the difference between the three words. And of course, you can use these words instead of saying something like the client wants, or we've been told we need to. I have to do this by these. You can add the words specification, criteria, parameter. I have a new brief and this is my criteria. I have a project I'm working on and it has very strict parameters, so it's making me a bit stressed. The client was very clear with their specifications, so I'm trying to meet all of them. Fulfill or satisfy. Now, I think we all know the use of fulfill and satisfy more in a kind of casual sense. So, for example, I feel fulfilled, I feel happy, I feel good, I feel content. I feel satisfied. Again, I'm happy, I'm content. I feel good with whatever decision I have just made or thing that I have just eaten. But we can also use this as a replacement for meeting the targets and goals of something or achieving something. Do you think you fulfilled the specifications of the client's brief? Meaning, do you think you met? Did you meet the client's specifications? As a team, I think we've completely satisfied the criteria that was put to us. We met the criteria. We achieved the criteria. We can definitely fulfill the request if we change the parameters a little. So you can use fulfill instead of meet, met, targets and goals, specification, criteria, parameters, milestones. I'll come back to that word later. You can use this instead of meet or met or achieved. Milestones. I said later, but it's actually the next word in my script. So milestones. Now we have personal life milestones, or professional career milestones. Now a personal milestone is different. Okay, let's start with what a milestone is. A milestone is an achievement, a significant event in your life. Now, the reason we call it a milestone, and I could be wrong with the history of this, but I believe I'm right, a milestone was put in place by potentially Romans when they were building cities to identify a particular location. It wasn't always every mile, but every time there was an interesting location, a school, a hospital, a viewpoint, a milestone would be placed to say this is the next point on your destination, on your route, on your journey. And it is exactly the same when we use milestone in terms of personal or professional life. A milestone is a significant event in your life. Now, off the top of my head, in Western societies, typically our milestones go, you're born, and then you go to university, you get your first job, you buy a house, you start a family. So these are all considered milestones. Now, the world is changing, of course, and people are not chasing the same dreams they used to, especially because everything is so expensive now. So a lot of younger people in Western societies are not judging their life or their success based on milestones. But, for example, in my parents' generation, they would do everything step by step. So you're 25, oh, you should be looking at getting married. Oh, you're 30, you should be looking at buying a house. You're 35, you should definitely have children by now. As I said, this is the previous generation, it's not the same for now, and you shouldn't feel stressed or pressured if you have not done those things. Now, a milestone in a professional sense is similar to KPIs, key points of indication, to indicate how you're doing. And your company might set milestones to judge your performance. So your first 100 sales, then your next 500 sales, or your first marketing campaign that you managed by yourself, the first project you created or worked on that brought in $10,000. There will be particular milestones, and you can use this phrase instead of key performance indicators. I said key points of indication earlier. No, that's wrong. Key performance indicators or goals. If you have goals in your company, not your own personal goals, but ones that are set by your company, you can refer to these as milestones. Now, often we have to explain a difference between something. So a product can be this price at its lowest or this price at its highest. Or an English lesson can be this price at its lowest, this price at its highest. But how can you express this in a more professional way? Well, the phrase ranged from is a fantastic way of doing this. Instead of saying, yes, my English lessons, the cheapest price is $15 an hour and the most expensive price is $35 an hour, you can say, English lessons range from $15 to $35 per hour. Or, our services range from $5,000 to $15,000 depending on what you want, or depending on your specification, your criteria. I inquired about the cost of the conference venue. They said it ranges from X amount to X amount, depending on how many people we will have attending the conference. Recognition and acknowledgement. Now, I think you might have heard of these words, but I've included them because you might not use them in the way that I'm about to explain. So being acknowledged, having acknowledgement of your work, is somebody recognizing that what you're doing is good, is successful, is working, you're working hard. We all want to be acknowledged. We all want recognition for what we do. And this is why I've included this. I'm sure you've heard somebody say, we recognize the work you're doing, or the company recognizes that everyone's been working hard and we want to reward you. Well, you can use this in the way to ask for that recognition as well. I feel I deserve more recognition for my input in the project. Or I feel the team didn't get enough recognition of the hard work or overtime they did last month. So you can use these phrases to ask for that recognition, ask for that acknowledgement, not wait for it to come to you. Now, of course, not all bosses, managers, companies allow you to do things like this, but definitely if you are at the end of the year, you're at the end of your probation, you've just completed a huge task, you're up for promotion, this is when you can ask these kinds of questions. What recognition will I get if I take this promotion? I've yet to be acknowledged for the work I did last year. I'm not sure I want to take on more responsibility next year. You can use these words in these kinds of situations where you're asking for something from your boss, your manager. And if you are approaching the end of the year and need to have a conversation about salary increase, a higher pay, I do have a video on how to do that professionally and politely. So I will put that up here somewhere and go and watch that if you are hoping to ask at the end of the year for a promotion. We often come across situations at work where we have to agree or disagree. We have to vote on something. And the next two words are a fantastic advanced way of saying you agree, disagree, or somebody, a group of people, agreed or disagreed. And those are in favor and not in favor of. So for example, the management team asked us to vote last month on how we feel about coming back to the office after 2 years of remote working. The team voted in favor of continuing remote working. They were not in favor of returning to the office. We were asked if we wanted a new team member, and we all voted in favor of hiring somebody new to help us in our team with our workload. So instead of saying we disagreed, we agreed, we voted for, we voted against, you can also use in favor and not in favor of. Diversify. Now, diversify means to change or expand. So instead of saying we need to change, we need to expand, we can use diversify. And typically it means to expand in a way that is different to what you currently have. So if a company only sells shoes and they start selling socks, for example, that would be diversifying, because not only are they expanding and growing, but they are actually changing the product that they are selling. Of course, they still sell shoes, but they are diversifying and selling 2 products now. That's a very simple example. So it means to grow in a way you haven't before. And typically you would only diversify when the market is good for you, when you are having successes, your business is growing, people know your company, they know your brand name, and so you think, let's try a new product. Why not? Diversify comes from the word diverse, which means to have a lot of different things. And from diverse, we have the word diversity as well. Now, diversity refers to a group of people being different. And I can give you a really nice example of this word. It's not one of my 10 words today, but I think it's important that you hear this story, and it will also help you understand what diversify means. So a student of mine once asked in an interview, what are you doing to diversify your team? Because when I was researching your company, I only saw white people on the website. However, you have offices all over the world. And of course, we all know not everybody in the world is white. Not everybody is European or Western, let's say. So for a company to be selling to lots of different nationalities, lots of different races, lots of different people, but only having one particular type of person on their website, that doesn't match up with what they're doing. And this student was from Hong Kong, so for her it was important that the team she would be working in understood different nationalities, different cultures, different backgrounds. Now, this was very brave of her to ask in the interview, because of course that could be taken the wrong way by the company. But it was important that for her, that the promotional material advertising this company actually represented the people working for this company. So it's kind of a 2-for-1 there. You've got diversify, which is to expand and change and grow, and diversity, which of course is to have difference in a team, in a group of people, not everyone being the same mindset, the same culture. And finally, our final word is facilities. Facilities. You can use this word instead of services or equipment or rooms. What facilities does your office have outside of the typical office setup, a standard desk and chair? Now, with the way the world is changing and many offices trying to make it a more comfortable space for their employees, a lot of office buildings have private, I can't remember what they are called, private conversation rooms where you can have a video call with someone and not be overheard by your colleagues. Some office buildings have access to a gym. Some have a canteen where the food is free or discounted for employees. These would all be facilities. They are things the building can offer outside what they are typically known for. So, for example, if you go to a conference, the conference hall, the venue, should offer, standard offer should be a room to hold the conference and bathrooms, toilets. But if they also have a stage, if they have a projector, if they have food on sale, or if they have waiters and waitresses that come with the cost of renting the conference hall, all of these extra add-ons can be considered facilities. And you often see this when you go to book a hotel. Instead of saying services, equipment, and rooms, it will say facilities. What facilities does this hotel have? A spa, a gym, a swimming pool, a free bus to the town, airport shuttle service. All of these things are outside what is expected from a hotel, so they are facilities the hotel provides. Now, I hope this video was interesting for you. I hope there were some new phrases there, some new words there for you, or if not, I hope you heard me use them in a different way. On the screen, I'm going to put 10 sentences and I want you to test your understanding of this video. Try and fit some of the words I've given you today into these sentences. Where would they fit? And I will leave the answers in the comments as well, so you can check if you've got them all right, or if you need to work on the understanding of some of the words. So that is all from me today. I need to go and film my second video for today. Please give this a like and subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you next time. Have a fantastic week. Bye bye.